Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has now been out for almost 2 months, and there have been some huge tier changes. The new pseudo-legendary Baxcalibur, known for Swords Dance and Dragon Dance sets, has fallen to the UU tier. TYRANITAR, one of the behemoths of past gen, has also fallen down to the UU tier. Even Mousehold's 10-hit population bomb couldn't save it from falling down to the UU tier. The Great Wall Blissey has fallen down to the rarely used tier. 3 of Sword and Shield's best Pokemon, Weavile, Magnezone, and Slowbro, have also fallen down to RU in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. There are so many more changes ahead of us, so let's take a closer look at the brand new RU tier, the UU changes, and more in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. We have so much stuff to cover in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm gonna give you a little outline, and I'll have timestamps down below. If there's something that you are more interested in than something else, feel free to skip to it. So we're gonna be covering the OU usage stats, the UU usage stats, the brand new rises and drops, the Pokemon that went from UU to OU, the Pokemon that dropped from OU to UU, as well as the new RU Alpha tier and what the new UU Beta tier is going to be looking at. So if y'all do enjoy these videos, make sure you let me know by leaving a like, and also subscribe to the channel if you're new, as I upload competitive Pokemon Scarlet and Violet content every single day. So the first thing I want to do is just look at the OU usage stats right there. We see Great Tusk Landorus at number 1. Honestly, this Pokemon is Landorus T to me, right? Like it's offensively good, it's defensively good, and it offers rapid spin support. I think it's better than Landorus personally, right? Obviously the Intimidate's invaluable and the ground immunity, but then you do have Terra types too. It's no secret why this Pokemon's number 1. It's faster than Golden Go. Can threaten it with Earthquake, can threaten it with Knockoff if it's on a balloon. Headlong Rush is insanely strong on offensive and defensive sets. Close Combat can 2-shot Corviknight on defensive sets with Stealth Rock, and if you're banded, you easily 2-shot it. Same thing with Rotom. Very hard to switch into. Rapid Spin giving you a speed boost. Great Tusk deserves its number 1. Right below it is Golden Go. Again, we all know why. This Pokemon can basically do everything because of its good as gold ability. Immune to Spore, immune to Defog, which is probably one of the biggest things, right, why this Pokemon's here. Though I will say that Cinderace was just released, and Court Change is one of the few things that can actually bypass good as gold. Right? You obviously can't Rapid Spin on Golden Go because it's the Ghost type. You can't Mortal Spin on it because it's the Steel type. And you cannot Defog on it because of its good as gold ability. However, Court Change does work. So if your opponent gets up spikes and stuff, which is typically with Golden Go, you can just Court Change them away with Cinderace. I will also note that Cinderace was just released. And had they chosen to not ignore that fact, Cinderace would have been UU, because it didn't have enough usage. But they were like, okay, no, it just released a day ago. We're not going to dump it down to UU. Chi-Yu at number 3, no surprise there as well, right? One of the best Pokemon in the tier. All it has to do is click Overeat and Dark Pull. You know, when I got Rex for the Terrestrialization Suspect test, and also, feel free to do whatever you want, right? Go for a walk, eat, use the bathroom. This isn't really a super visual video because it's a long video, so go do what you guys want. But also, please let me know your thoughts. I really, really love these videos because there's like such a huge, there's differences in opinions, but also I get to see something like, oh, well, Joey, you missed that Grafai is really good in UU because Espathra is the best Calm Mind user. I know this, obviously, I'm the one giving this example, but it's the best Calm Mind user, and you can just encore with Prankster and, Parting Shot away, etc., etc. So, love little things like that because they get me excited for the tiers too. But Chi-Yu, number 1, literally zero surprise there. When I got Rex for the Terrestrialization Suspect test, which if you did get Rex as well, voting is today, so make sure you vote. I basically for 30 games let off with Chi-Yu and wanted to test damage. I was Specs, clicked Overheat while Terrestrializing Fire, and wanted to see how many Pokemon I can kill turn 1. The number would not astound you. This mon has with its ability, base 196, 197 special attack, basically. Dragonite number 4, the best Dragon Dance user in the tier. With Terra Normal, obviously, Terra Stream Speed is amazing. Iron Valiant, probably the best booster energy Pokemon in the tier, being faster than literally everything above it. Specs is really strong. Swords Dance is strong right now too. We got Tinglu, one of the few Pokemon in the tier that could take a hit from literally every single Pokemon. Not my homie Bramblegaz though. Spike, Stealth Rock, Whirlwind, Chien-Pao again. I think a lot of people are starting to adapt to Chien-Pao, whereas I think in the beginning, people didn't think it was that great, but then they were like, it's just a little better Weavile. Then people saw it as amazing, and now People are super high on Chi-Yu. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? This is 25% usage, right? 1 in 4 teams are going to have a Chien-Pao. So people are not sleeping on it, but in a sense that I think it's easier to deal with Chien-Pao than it is to deal with Chi-Yu. Chi-Yu, I feel like, doesn't have to Terra to be a giant threat. Chien-Pao, if it's boots, kind of has to Terra. But if it's Banner or Life Orb, that's a completely different story. Pult, doesn't matter the generation, right? Came out last generation, still in top 10 this generation. Fantastic. A lot of people are using the Hex Will-O-Wisp U-Turn set with Dragon Darts or Draco. Very strong. Bandit is very good because it actually has Physical Stab and Terra Blast, which is kind of similar. We have no idea what's going to happen with Terastizing, right? But the fact that it's kind of similar to Dynamax in the sense that, yeah, Pult can use physical variants because of that. Specs is really good too, especially with Terra. And I've seen people Terra into Fairy, Terra into Normal, Terra into Ghost, that way they live. Booster Energy, Iron Valiant, Moonblast. I say Booster Energy just because it means it's faster than you. And then Annihilate at number 9. Literally zero surprise there. One of these scariest Pokemon with a bulk up. Taunt rest sets are good. Taunt, I think, are better at the moment. And then a lot of people are using lead sets too, which are very solid. It actually makes me very happy when I see a lead set because like, oh, okay, cool. This Annihilate's gonna kill itself, so I don't have to worry about it. Which is actually very, very fitting that Annihilate wants to knock itself out, just based on lore. And then we have Kingambit at number 10. The Pokemon that, in my opinion, feels like it has a choice band. Feels like it has leftovers. Feels like it has an assault vest. Feels like it has a defense vest. Like, this mon feels like it has every single item because it's so bulky. It's crazy that they just dump some HP and some more attack on Bisharp, and like how good it made it defensively. And like, people use assault vest Bisharp and things like that back in the day. Bisharp's also killing it in UU, so we'll be talking about that in a bit. And then we have Glimmora at number 11, Corviknight there, Garg as well. I do think that people are starting to adapt a bit more to Garg. I've been seeing, and I've been using a lot, Covert Cloak, Golden Go, Covert Cloak. Well, Golden Go is my favorite. Covert Cloak basically means that Salt Cure does not work on you, right? It only does the regular thing. It doesn't have the secondary effect. That works for all things. I've seen Covert Cloak, Corviknight 2 for Shadow Ball, Split F drops and things like that. They never happen. We see Roaring Moon. It's funny that now at this point, the most or the least common Roaring Moon set, in my opinion, is the one that was most common before last month, which was, and by last month I mean more so in November and very early December, not like necessarily December because that was 2 days ago. But the Booster Energy Acrobatic set is starting to fall off, and people are more using Bandit on Sun. People are starting to use Roost 3 attacks because of the Chi-Yu switching. People are starting to use Jaw Lock. I'm very happy about that because I think that the one-trick pony of Booster Energy Acrobatics just is not as good right now. And I mean, the second you use your Booster Energy, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is your Terra type, right? And if you don't Terra, then it's worse. Hatterene at number 15. It's really good. It Terras into water so it can beat Chi-Yu. It has Nuzzle. It stops Ting-Lu from clicking hazards, forces it to click Earthquake, which only does like 30%, and also Ruination, which misses. And then Bozo, Dondozo, number 16. We see Rotom up there at 17 too. Most common Terra types on Rotom are Ghost and Steel, allowing it to be Dragonite. Iron Tread's up there too, and Garchomp still with the spikes and stuff. Amoonguss still creeping back up there as well for Iron Valiant checks, and it's a decent check to a lot of setup in the tier. Speaking of setup, Vulcan number 21. Most common Terra type is Grass as well. Clodsire number 22. A lot of people are stopping running Unaware on Clodsire because they didn't want to get smoked by 2 overheats from Chi-Yu. So good job adapting metagame. 23, Scizor, best priority mon in the tier besides Dragonite and Breloom, right? Straight up, I mean, obviously King Gambit there too, but in my opinion, when I see King Gambit, it's going to Terra and then beat me with Kowtow, Cleave, and Ironhead. But amazing priority choice band Pokemon, probably one of the best choice band Pokemon in the tier besides Chien-Pao, and Great Tusk. Just that Bullet Punch, like it's insane how strong it is. It does like 40-something% to Golden Goal. It's like the freaking Chi-Yu, I mean, excuse me, Chi-Yu gets 2 a KO by Bullet Punch. It's insane just how good it is. It'll smash like Volcarona if it Terra Grasses. Breloom's good too. Cyclizar, obviously, that's more Shed Sail than Cyclizar. Interesting that we don't see Earthworm. And again, I'll show you guys the stats in a sec. But Iron Moth as well. Very good specs Pokemon. I saw people use a Whirlwind like CUB and things like that. Quaquaval is still really, really strong in the metagame currently. It's interesting to see that all three starters still made it. Right, they still made it and stayed in OU. I would have thought that Masquerada would have actually dropped. It's funny because during the time, the best starter is Skeletor's, but based on usage, not looking like it, right? But Skeletor's, in my opinion, is the best starter in singles. And we'll skip Skeletor's, but basically, Mon doesn't die, right? Physical or special moves, depending on the set. Will-O-Wisp, Torch Song being a freaking super boost. Whenever I use it, great. Hex is great too. Grimmsnarl with the dual screens, right? And then you have Quaquaval, while people are starting using Banded, which is really strong versus Balance if you don't run like an Among Us or something. And then you have the bulky setup sets that can set up on Choice Band Chien-Pao and tank those. And then you have Swords Dance sets that run like Terra Blast. Electric for Toxapex. Toxapex actually picking up a little bit in usage towards the end of the month as well. I mean, in general, it was picking up, like it was at 33, but it picked up a little bit more in usage towards the end of the month because Cinderace just came out and people were using that. Azu, and then Masquerada Scarf is like the big thing in Bandit. Those are like the big sets that Masquerada is running right now. I've seen Spikes mixed, which is really cool. I might use that in the future, but just as a revenge killer for stuff. Sun is still making its way to OU, and then Azu creeped up from UU all the way back to the OU tier as a Chi-Yu check. People are using Belladrone with Terra Water, insanely strong. Assault Vest is good too. I've seen Leftovers plus Protect as well. I will also want to note that Hattering, very used in UU. Rotom was very used in UU. Azu was very used in UU. And then Palmont. And let me say Palmont real quick before I show before I put this graphic up here. But I did it anyway. But Palmont is also seeing a lot of usage in the OU tier. People are starting to abuse Revival Blessing more and more. With a Lepa Bear, you get 2 revives. I've seen people use the Rest Talk on some stuff too. And then, not necessarily Palmont, but I've seen people use things with Rest Talk and then just has more and more Revival Blessings. But there's one team walking around, which is like Palmont, King Gambit, Ditto, Annihilate, Chien-Pao, and +1. And actually, I believe I have a replay when me and my friends played it last night. But there's this team that Janvad uses and a few other people have been using as well. And that's the team on that side with a Volcarona, where basically it's really offensive and it's revolves around Palmont reviving the entire thing. And it's good. It's good, and these Mons were solid in UU, and they rose up to OU based on usage. We gotta remember this is a usage-based system. Hat rose, I told you right, Hat, Azu, and Rotom rose, and then again, that's team. I believe it got number 1 with Palmont, so it's been very, very spammed, and people are using a lot. UU's definitely gonna miss these Pokemon. I mean, Hatterene was incredible in UU, right? I mean, the same thing that happens to OU happens to UU, right? Hazards get blocked, which is the biggest thing when it comes to that. And then we see Iron Hands just barely making it to the OU tier, but still making it. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting because now we have the drops, and the drops are crazy when you think about it, right? So the Pokemon that have dropped, now right here, but we have Baxcalibur, the pseudo-legendary of this generation. Charizard, I'll skip that for now. Ditto, I'll skip that for now. Charizard was just released, basically, which is the only reason why I was OU, and that's why I was there. But low kicks, these are the most interesting ones, right? Obviously, Tyranitar, Mousehold, and which one do I want? They're the exact same thing. This one has more family. I have 2 sisters, so there they are right there. And then we have Earthworm. So these Pokemon have all fallen. And crazy when you think about it. I think Baxcalibur, especially because UU right now is in beta. For the previous month, it was in alpha, so nothing could be banned, no matter how broken it was. Nothing could be changed. And then we'll get into what just got banned in UU in literally just a moment. But Baxcalibur has fallen down from OU to UU. I mean, if you look at the OU usage stats, like, just super quickly, a lot of these Mons deal with Baxcalibur at +1 just based on Terra types, based on common sets like Scarf, Band, things like that. Tinglu can Terra to deal with it. Great Tusk eats any hit, even at +1. And especially with a defensive one, and threatens it back with Body Press. Like, I just don't think it could find its way. And I don't think it's a bad Pokemon by any means. I actually think it, like, if you look at the entire OU tier, I think Baxcalibur is insane. I really do. I actually really do. Even though I just said Pokemon can beat it 1v1, I still think it's insanely good. But when it comes to the UU tier now, which the Pokemon has fallen into, I think there's zero way that this mon can stay, especially if Terra ends up sticking around. In my opinion, this mon is similar to Staraptor, and it's just a nuke with choice band. Dragonite set's super bulky. There is the one set that I really like with Baxcalibur that Blender uses a lot is a super bulky set with Ice Body with Chilling Reception, Slowking, and you run leftovers and you just get back to full and Dragonite up. It sets up on like Chi-Yu, it sets up on like Golden Go type of thing, right? So I think that's one that's really slept on. This mon's gonna be insane with Choice Band, with Swords Dance, with Dragonite sets. I think it'll be banned in the UU tier. Low Kicks, my favorite Pokemon from this generation. I wanted it to be UU. I'm gonna be completely honest. I've been wanting this mon to be UU just because of the fact that I need it to revenge kill like things like Staraptor and things like Float Soul, Gengar, obviously Gyarados, Iron Jug, any Dragonite Pokemon really, and the fact that also it could smash things like Belly Drum, Azu as well, just because of Tinted Lens. First impression. I think this thing's going to fit in very well here. Whether it continues to stay or drop, it's a good anti-offense Pokemon. You have very strong Pokemon that are, to be honest, maybe end of the week. Sorry, I was talking about Chi-Yu with Blender, but probably going to be banned a couple days, if not today. But basically, it being able to deal with offense is insane. Choice Band, First Impression, you have Sucker Punch right there. Swords Dance, I think Swords Dance variants are going to work very well here too because Low Kicks definitely threatens things out. But its biggest thing, like whether you Choice Band or Life Orb, I think that you should always run First Impression. Even on Swords Dance sets, you should literally always run First Impression because you threaten something out just without having to set up. And then your last move could be Leech Life or Throw Chop. Probably Leech Life if you're going Terra Bug. Because Lens very little resistances, but like even the previous one where Espathra, which was actually just banned from UU, where Espathra was banned, and we'll actually look at the, let me see if I can move this real quick. I can, technology. Where Espathra was banned, like look at the top tier usage stats, right? Tinkaton barely takes on Low Kicks, like quite literally barely. It tanks hits, but it does. Hydreigon, dead. Azu, dead. Armarouge, dead. Sandy Shocks, dead. Slitherwing, dead. I'm thinking about like first impressions with Choice Band and stuff like that. After a little bit of damage or setup. Espathra, dead. Whether it tears or not. Grafai, one of the greatest Pokemon there. Doesn't matter. Gengar, dead. Mimikyu needs to disguise busted, but dead. So like Low Kicks looks extremely strong. It looks extremely strong. And actually, just to show you like how much the changes mattered, you see Rotom in top 16, you see Hatterene there as well, and you see Azu in number 3 on the ladder. Like these rises mattered so much. Even Palmat at number 23, right? And then obviously the drops mattered a ton as well. But I think Low Kicks is gonna find itself right at home as a strong priority user. Something that even Staraptor with Terra Bug First Impression, because remember, the resistance doesn't matter, has to worry about. And that's one of the strongest Pokemon in the damn tier. Like a Raptor is quite literally one of the strongest Pokemon in the tier. But I think a lot of that also with Low Kicks having a drop just has to do with what's good when it came to OU, right? Like this mon barely can break through Corviknight unless it's running SD sets, and then you have to use your Terra type to break Corviknight as well. First Impression is good, but it only working once is pretty big for this Pokemon because you want it, but it's not just like, you need it. You need First Impression, but then you can't use it again. And I'd rather use priority mons like Dragonite and things like that too. Tyranitar's fallen. Tyranitar was OU. A lot of it had to do with Houndstone, it being able to deal with Flutter Mane. It actually is still decent in the OU tier because it can check Chi-Yu just naturally with either Assault Vest or not. I've seen a lot of Tyranitar as well on the higher ladder too, so it's interesting to see. But it's fallen down to UU once again, which is very sad. It fell once in Sword and Shield, and that was its first time ever being UU. It was OU since its conception in Gen 2. And sad to see it fall in OU. In terms of how it will be in the tier, first of all, there's no extra drill, right? So I don't know how great Tyranitar is going to be. It's a Talonflame switching. It'll eat hits from Sandy Shock. It'll eat hits from Armarouge, even Aura Sphere and stuff like that. Azu isn't there anymore. It'll eat hits from Hydreigon. Tinkaton, you got to be careful about. Slitherwing, you got to be careful about. It would destroy a spot. It would actually force a spot. If a Espathra didn't just get banned from UU's first ban, by the way, Espathra. If Espathra did not just get banned from UU, it would force Espathra to always run Terra type fighting instead of like Fairy or fighting, or like Steel or something. Well, usually Fairy fighting. And then that would make Espathra so much easier to deal with because it's not a Fairy. It just makes a big difference in like what can check it and what can't. But TTar just looks extremely good. TAR looks decent too, like a kilowatts check for the tier. Competing against other weather, obviously Pelipper is there, and the Water Bull is extremely good too. By the Water Bull, I mean Tauros, right? Tauros is still good. It doesn't have to worry about. It's just good. It's good into most of the top 10, even though most of them hit them with super effective moves. Obviously, TYRANITAR losing Pursuit is still one of the biggest things ever when it comes to TTar, but still, I think it'll still be solid. Speaking of solid, Mousehold fell, and TikTok thinks his mon is broken. I don't know if they still think his mon is broken, but I saw some TikToks with like, yo, ban this mon. I was like, bro, what? Can I interest you in the item Rocky Helmet? So anyway, obviously with Rocky Helmet, and it's not like that's a a new item or something that you go out of your way to use, but Mousehold just can't break OU, personally. First off, the most common Pokemon in the tier, second most common Pokemon in the tier is Golden Go, right? So you look at Golden Go, Mousehold, Bite, you know, it's Technician boosted and everything, but Bite, and even with Tidy Up, which is an amazing thing. One of the few things that could also get rid of hazards, which is why I liked Mousehold. I think this is actually specifically one of the main reasons to use this Pokemon. Spike's offense, and Spike's not going to be as good versus Mousehold. It gets rid of the hazards on the field, which is amazing. And then you have the Population Bomb, which can hit 10 times with Wide Lens, or 99% accurate, something like that. And then you of course have Bite, and then U-turn. Usually you can probably in this tier you might run low kick because of Bisharp in it, but for the most part I think U-turn is just better, as Mousehold is usually tidying up, and you can do this with heavy duty boots too, which I think is good too. Heavy duty boots, tidy up, get rid of hazard, be your hazard control for the team, and do that. But it was not breaking through Corviknight. If Corviknight had a Rocky Helmet and went for Population Bomb, Mousehold died. Didn't matter if they're like +1 because they die before they get off all their hits. Among Us, same thing, Rocky Helmet. Same thing with Great Tusk, number 1 most used. Not being able to break through number 1 and number 2 most used Pokemon, pretty big for Mousehold. Falls down. Very hype Pokemon though. I know that if I make a video on this mon will go really, views will go bazooka, like crazy. I said bazooka, and then I did a I know what I meant. You hopefully know what I meant. But when it comes to the UU tier, this is kind of exciting. Good speed tier, right? It's faster than everything in the top 10. Can get rid of hazard set by Sandy Shocks. Tinkaton typically runs, you see it's number 1 in usage. It was a good Espatha check, decent Hydreigon check, good decent Staraptor check. It was basically a check to everything, right? Check to Gengar, could eat hits from Slitherwing as long as it's first impressioning. And also get up Stealth Rock on Hatterene, which was pretty big too, because you throw away Gigaton Hammer. Had support sets with Thunderwave, Knockoff, Protect. Those are the ones that were more common. And then you have Swords Dance offensive sets too. Just a good Pokemon, right? And you know, Mousehold, I wish Mousehold got knockoff, and it probably gets knockoff with DLC, right? Because then we start getting like moves like that, but which will be huge for this Pokemon. Just being able to get rid of Rocky Helmets and support its all team. But I mean, the main way to use this Pokemon is you bring it out, you U-turn into your giant threat. In OU, it would be Chi-Yu or Chien-Pao, because this thing would be forcing the same Pokemon. It would be forcing in Great Tusk or Corviknight, and for the most part, those Pokemon can deal with it. UU has some natural checks to it, right? I already mentioned Tinkaton. I say Mimikyu and Gengar's checks, but barely, because Technician Bite, smash Gengar at +1, and then Mimikyu cannot kill it back. Plus, you can always Terra Steel or Terra Ghost if you want with Shadow Claw. That could be pretty cool. But then if you do that in front of Mimikyu, they'll play rough and next turn or Shadow Sneak you and smash you if they're +2. But Terra types can, I think, help out Mousehold a lot. Like Terra Ground is something I'm looking at too, if you want to be a little bit more offensive, because Terra Ground will allow you to deal with Tinkaton after setting up, hit Gengar, you know, for a KO too, hit Bisharp for super effective damage, things like that, right? And it's faster than Staraptor at +1 with Tidy Up. So I think Mousehold's gonna find a nice little home in the UU tier, which I'm excited about. I really want this mon. Not to say that I might even run protective pads on it, to be honest. But then I'm gonna miss my. This is the problem, right? Like heavy duty boots and protective pads are good items, and they will definitely work for Mousehold. But then if you don't run Wide Lens, your Population Bomb's accuracy is You want to hit 10 times, right? Most of the time, you want to hit 10 times. If a Pokemon can hit 10 times, you want to hit 10 times with that Pokemon. You know what I mean? You want to be able to hit 10 times with this Pokemon. That's how you do the most damage. And we'll see. And then Earthworm, excuse me. I just did a movie with it in OU yesterday. If you missed the MV, we just started. But this mon fell from OU to UU. Cool. I'm excited to try a Shed Tail pass in the UU tier. Hopefully stuff doesn't get banned. I know the OU Council has a slate, so they're trying to deal with Terra and a few things in the same thing, but I don't think Earthworm is on that list. I think it might just be Cyclizar as a Pokemon, which is like fair if you think about it, because Cyclizar as the Rapid Sport knockoff fast regenerator, whereas Earthworm, the way it works is a lot of people want around Citrus Berry. They got the Citrus, they got the Shed Tail, you got a Spike, you got Body Press, Heavy Slam or Earthquake. Heavy Slam letting you basically smash Pokemon like what's it called, Iron Valiant and things like that upon switching. Lamora, it's just, you know, strong for the fairies and fairies and rocks, whatever. But this is like standard set. You might see Stealth Rock, and honestly, with Earthworm, it's a lot harder to get this to work, right? Because you're almost always taking a hit. The best Pokemon that's here is Great Tusk. Yeah, you have Earth Eater, one of the coolest abilities ever, right? Being immune to ground type attacks and also healing. Such a sick item. Palishtan is in shambles because they didn't give it that with water moves. Problem with Earthworm is you barely ever get, and you might even see Iron Defense on this set for Body Press. You barely get opportunities to do more than one thing. It's already going to be basically hit to its Citrus Berry whenever it's out because it's slow as hell. Right? You can run speed, I guess, too, but you want a slow Shed Tail pass. But you can run speed for sure to be faster than like Rotom and stuff like that, right? You can do something like this. I've seen people run this with a Jolly Nature. And then be faster than Rotom and be able to pass on that. And then Citrus Berry also with defense. You know, you could eat like a close combat from Great Tusk. Which is the big thing, right? When the best Pokemon, yeah, you can switch into the ground moves, but it has Body Press, it has close combat, which hurt and super effective against you. Very, very, very hard to deal with. You could get a Spike and then run Terra-type Grass, but Ghost, but are you really Terra-type Ghosting with your Earthworm? You could Terra-type Water and live a hit from Chi-Yu, but I don't know, man. If Chi-Yu hits you with Specs already, and even with you having a Citrus Berry, you probably don't even get enough to Shed Tail. Basically, excuse me. The big thing is that Cyclizar can Shed Tail pass multiple times, especially because of Regenerator. Has the speed, has Rapid Spin, U-turn, knockoff support. Yes, Earthworm has Spikes and Stealth Rock, which is really good. I think they're going to be even better in the lower tiers, right? Because this mon can set up on Tinkaton. This mon can set up on Sandy Shocks with Spadef, at least hazards. This mon doesn't care about Grafai. This mon would have been really good, as well as like the Espathra answer in lower tiers with Heavy Slam. And there's a plethora of Pokemon in the U tier. Like, look at most of the physical mons. You can eat a lot of the physical hits as long as they're not strong close combats. A lot of fighting types, though. This is definitely the year of fighting types, which is really, really cool to see how good the fighting and the dark types are going at the moment. But yeah, being able to spike passes, it's just not very good at passing in the OU tier. People start to realize that it fell off in usage. In UU, though, Shed Tail passing, it can definitely do. Like, it comes in on the, it comes in on the #1 most used Pokemon. They're like working outside, painting and changing the carpet of the apartment on the outside, like around it. So my dog is a little bit on edge because they keep banging on the door and stuff like that, which, I mean, I understand. You're hearing these noises that people should not be near our door, right? She's a New Yorker too. She's like, yo, step away from my effing door right now. My dad, I'm 11 pounds, but I love Puka. But anyway, in UU, Earthworm looks good, right? Pass on Donphan. It can pass on Quagsire. It can pass on Talonflame unless it's running Overheat. Shoot. Pass on Sandy Shocks if it's running Spadef. Pass on Tinkaton. I think it's going to be a good Shed Tail passer, and I'm actually excited to try it out in that lower tier, right? But that's basically UU in a nutshell. We have the UU usage stats. We do see a bunch of Pokemon. We see Barraskewda barely making it to UU, right? And that's crazy because Pelipper's the number 19, but obviously Barraskewda is not the greatest Swift Swimmer in the tier. The greatest Swift Swimmer is Floatzel. Floatzel's stronger than Barraskewda because of Wave Crash. Because of Wave Crash, Floatzel is stronger than Barraskewda, which is usually naturally stronger than it in the rain, but Barraskewda only has Liquidation. It also lost Flip Turn, which was the biggest thing, right? Being able to bring it in and then Flip Turn out versus bad matchups to bring out a bigger threat. But yeah, Floatzel's there, and obviously with Terra Water, we all know how strong Floatzel can be. So it's cool to see U tier. Screamtail at number 26, Gashron obviously at number 32. I love that Sandy Shocks is number 5, by the way, because it's a great spiker. It can Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, and Earth Power, and also sometimes runs Terra Grass to deal with Gastrodon and Quagsire and Donphan all in one, right? Being able to resist that Earthquake as well, smashing Rotom and resisting Hydro Pump. Really good mon, and it's cool to see it that it's number 5. I'm glad, like, right? It's really cool to see it at number 5. But if you don't look at the, if you don't look at this, because we're about to get into the OU tier, or excuse me, the UU tier for a second. Or excuse me, RU. Wow, I can't talk. But if you look at the UU tier, right, there's a few Pokemon that were UU. And also, I want to say Ditto. I guess I might as well talk about it. But Ditto dropping is really good, right? Ditto. The lower Ditto is, the better for everybody, because Ditto is the Pokemon that can deal with. My bad, I had to cough. But Ditto is a Pokemon that can basically deal with most setup. It's not as great right now in a Terra meta because it doesn't copy the Terra, but it's still good versus setup, especially because UU is a very heavy setup tier. So the lower Ditto drops, the more people can use it in every tier, right? Because if Ditto drops all the way to PU, that means you can use it in NU, RU, UU, OU, etc. So this is better for everyone. We want Ditto to go as low as possible, because that means more people could use it. Charizard dropping down to UU. I mean, I think Zar was actually pretty good on OU Rain. Or excuse me, well, OU Sun because of Terra and Solar Power. It's actually insanely strong too. Freaking Chi-Yu out here. But obviously, why have a Pokemon that takes 50% from hazards, Stealth Rock, if I'm not running heavy duty boots? If I'm running heavy duty boots, I'm already weakening my power. And is not as strong as Chi-Yu is, right? Chi-Yu is just so strong initially and even stronger in the sun, right? Even with Charizard's Terra, Fire, and Solar Power and everything, like this mon, like why run that when I can run Chi-Yu, right? So Zard and Ditto have fallen, and I am okay with it. I am definitely okay with it. I want Ditto to just continuously fall, that way we can use it. And it's cool to see that Tinkaton being number 1. I mean, Staraptor is a demon. Guys, Bandit Staraptor is so strong in this damn tier. I love seeing Gallade number 20. Them giving it sharpness is really cool. Sacred Sword being stronger than close combat just off the rip is insane. Love that mod. We got Lucha as well at number 31, holding it down to Gyarados. But yeah, Barraskewda, Klefki, and Didi just barely made it. Noivern, Brute Bonnet number 41. I think Brute Bonnet is good. And OU. Now let's look at the RU tier. So I'm gonna put the mons that were kind of the craziest. In front of you is an incomplete Gen 8 OU team. It probably just needs Dragapult and Tornadus, and it'll be fine in the metagame. Heavy duty boots, Bandit or heavy duty boots, Specs, and that, or even Iron Defense, and that's the team. Wrong. In front of you is a Gen 9 legal RU team without any moves and 6 Pokemon. But look how far power creep. I don't even know if it's power creep necessarily, right? Well, I use Weavile and OU when I got Chimpao. Also, they got rid of Triple Axle on Weavile. Doesn't have knockoff at the moment. It has Ice Spinner, which is cool. Doesn't have knockoff at the moment, so it doesn't have his best Dark Stab. But how the mighty have fallen. Blissey. Oh, not just Blissey. Let me put Chansey down here too. Chansey ain't even tiered. Crazy. Chansey ain't even tiered at the moment. Right, so you got the friends together like it's some sort of Gen 5 OU right now. You got Bro. It's crazy that Slowking is actually UU because Slowking has a way of teleporting, which is Chilly Reception, right? They can set up Snow, which can help Titan and stuff. But mainly lets the Mon get out of there. And Snow not affecting Pokemon is actually really good because it lets it be, like, again, the teleport that it doesn't have right now. Whereas Slowbro doesn't have teleport. So it can't really just take a hit and get on out of there. No Scald, which is pretty big for Slowbro as well, right? It's still Future Sight, but when it comes to, I don't know why do they have it? Why would you have Future Sight here after all these generations? No, you gotta fix that. Maybe in Gen 9, but like where you look at Slowking, which is UU, again, this is a really common set on it, right? So Chilly Reception, which starts Snow, but usually switches out, which is the big thing. Future Sight, so it can actually still use this combination. You can use Slack Off. And then obviously Surf can be there. You could also use Ice Beam, Flamethrower, etc. But Slowbro can't do it. Doesn't have the way of getting out. Still good physical wall, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But just doesn't have. It's missing the tools that it had last gen. Weavile, once again, no Triple Axle. No knockoff. It's not illegal right now. Who knows what Pokemon Home if we're actually going to get these moves. If we don't, then there'll be Weavile might just continue to fall for a bit. Terra or Terastallizing made it not be an Espathra check in the UU tier, right? If you look at UU, Tinkaton naturally just eats everything up that it wants to do. Espathra just terras into fighting, or Fairy and Oko's Weavile on a hit. Had Espathra not be able to Terra, Weavile would be a good answer to it, because he'll live like a Dazzling Gleam and be able to knock it out with a dark move. If it had a dark move, but also like Gengar, like if Pursuit was there too, it's just not what it was. So crazy to see Weavile fall down. One of the literally top 5 usage mon last generation. People wanted to ban this thing. People still want to ban this thing in Generation 8 tournaments and in Generation 8 Sword and Shield. But this Pokemon has fallen to you. And then Zone. Now, Zone is good. Zone is good in OU. It's good. Sure, it can't trap Golden Go, right? Because it's a Ghost type, so Ghost types can't be trapped. But like, just Zone is good because Corviknight. Literally because of Corviknight. But also Spec Zone, and I use it in tournament. If Annihilate isn't running speed, or even if it is, I just Terra into Electric. I live its boosted Drain Punch or Rage Fist, and I knock it out with Specs Thunderbolt, right? Like, it's a good Pokemon, and I think that as Chi-Yu potentially gets banned, and whatever we get with Terastallizing ends up happening, this mon will eventually rise again. But it's solid. Obviously, Tinglu's there, so it can't do much. And then Scizor got like close combat and things like that too. But it's good. I think it's good personally. I know Terra Flying. It fell though all the way down to the RU tier. Then Chansey and Blissey, you guys know what they do. Walls, walls, walls. Heavy duty boots. Chansey lost Toxic, which is pretty big. I would say that's one of the biggest reasons. Not being able to use Toxic. Like, Volcarona is so good in OU, right? You look at the OU usage tier. This mon could potentially eat hits from Dragonite. It does not eat hits very well from Chi-Yu, okay? Sun boosted Chi-Yu smashes it. 2 Fire Blasts as well from Specs Chi-Yu. Does like 44 to 50 to Blissey. So you could potentially do a KO if you have rocks up, if you got rid of their boots, if they're anything. It's like it loses to Annihilate, can't Toxic it either, it gets taunted. Like, losing Toxic is big, because I would, if Blissey had Toxic, I'd just stand on Tinglu, trade the Toxic, or give it the Toxic, let him get hazards up, and yeah, just go from there. Like, sorry, I had to cough, but yeah, Toxic would be big, because like, you just trade it versus something and don't have to really worry. Obviously, not being able to hit Golden Go with Thunder Wave and stuff like that is pretty big. Most common set was like Stealth Rock, Soft Boiled, and then you saw like Seismitoss and Shadow Ball to hit Golden Go, and then Golden Go, if it's Nasty Block, just sets up on it and doesn't care, otherwise tricks it. Not very strong. Obviously, Chansey is also another bulky wall with a Violet. Pretty similar things, does the exact same thing. This would have been like a standard set if it had Toxic, but you can also do Thunder Wave. I'm sure it'll be fun in RU. I'm sure you'll see these guys running around some sort of RU stall as well. And then I already mentioned why Slowbro's not like, why Slowbro fell. Now, let's look at the RU tier, give it a kind of thing, right? So when you look at the first 3 Pokemon of RU, you think you're looking at the PU tier. But if we keep going, you also think you're looking at the PU tier. However, some mods that stand out, Arboliva, solid, right? Specs user, super strong. Hyper Voice, very few Pokemon that can switch in besides Blissey, Chansey, and then Bronzong. But Pokemon like Caparaja get Earth powered. So Specs looks extremely strong down here. Arcanine, obviously a good defensive wall, good offensive Pokemon too. Avalok Spinner, Bayonets, whatever. I think these 2 Pokemon are very underrated. I used them recently in a Wi-Fi battle. I haven't uploaded it yet, but they're basically boosted by adaptability, and a Basculin gets Wave Crash with Terra Water. Very few Pokemon can actually switch in on this mon. So this is probably the one that I am super excited about to use. I don't know if it'll actually stay RU, but you know, in lower tiers. Bellabolt, one of the greatest Pokemon of all time, all right? This mon with the Slack Off, Parabolic Charge Beam, and then Muddy Water set. That's all it runs. Fizz Def looks extremely strong. Spadef can work too. Fizz Def to be able to eat hits from like Arcanine and like physical setup like Braviary as well. Bombardier, it's really cool. Obviously, Blissey, you know it's going to be a special wall. Bombardier, whatever. I like Bombardier. It just sounds cooler. But Bombardier just did a live with this thing too. Awesome mon. Braviary. So bulk up sets are obviously good with close combat and like Brave Bird, Roost type of thing. Terra can work too. Just your standard setup mon when it looks to the tier. Looking at other things, we do see Titan down here. It missed its Chilly Reception Pokemon, but I do want to say I kind of skipped over this. But Abomasnow, I shouldn't have skipped over this. Abomasnow is an extremely good Aurora Veil setter because Ice types get a 1.5 times boost in Snow. This thing took like 60 from a damn Life Orb Sacred Sword. Like it took 60 from a Life Orb Sacred Sword from Sharpness boosted Gallade. It's just like, it's insane to me how much defense. I mean, and so it'll be a consistent. It'll be a consistent. Sorry, my dog's having fun, and I'm gonna let him have fun. But it'll be a consistent Veil setter, right? And there's good Pokemon, right? Let's just look at the entire tier real quick. But we got Weavile right there, right? You get Magnezone to trap the Steel types for Weavile. Ducktrio has Swords Dance now. Did you guys know that Ducktrio had Swords Dance? And that might be like, yo, who the hell cares? It doesn't have Arena Trap. True. But imagine it did have Arena Trap or Swords Dance. But also, that's high speed tier plus Terra type. Oh man, I wish we had that metagame. I really wish we had that metagame. We really were like hoed by the council when Arena Trap failing, right? Imagine being able to Terra type into whatever type you want and then trap whatever you want. That sounds fire. But obviously, Belly Drums to Titan sounds amazing with Aurora Veil. That Shell Smash Cloyster sounds amazing too. Shell Smash Dreadnought, something gets now as well. Belly Drum IQ is going to fall all the way down to NU or PU. Phalanx, again, it's going to fall all the way down to NU or PU. Spike's offense with Frost Last looks super strong. Gardevoir being a choice Scarfer as well as choice Specs user too. Even something like Nasty Plot Godok, which it has Nasty Plot this generation, can be really crazy, I think, under Veil because it's going to be hard to deal with it. It has good coverage, right? This is all it needs. Focus Blast, Grass Knot can Terra type into whatever it wants. So there's a lot of big threats with Aurora Veil, and I think that's something that can be crazy. Like even Carbonable with Swords Dance sounds deadly to get rid of with its 77-97 and the 1.5 times defense boost. So really nice. I can definitely see Stall being used. You have Blissey right there. Belly Bowl can probably work on some sort of Stall. Dash Bun. I know that's not how you say it, but I love saying it like that. They're really cool. Really good breakers in Dragalge with adaptability as well. On the special side, as with physical side, Florges is a great Wish Passer too. It actually can use its what's it called? Flower Veil if it Terra types in the grass, which is funny. This side's grass types can have stats lowered or stats inflicted by other Pokemon. Pretty crazy, right? If it Terra types grass, it can actually have an ability when it comes to singles. And obviously you have some honchos right here, literally. You got Haxorus with Dragon Dance and RU. Crazy Mon. Can Terra type into fighting or ground as well and have stab on the close combat Earthquake. Heracross is really big too with Guts Facade. And it has Trailblaze too, so it can actually raise its speed without being Choice Scarf. And then Hariyama as well. Belly Drum Hariyama is strong. It's very strong. I used it in OU, and it's. I did use it in OU. I used Guts Steel type Terra Steel with Flame Orb and Bullet Punch, and it KOs Chiyu from full. And then they gave Hariyama Dragon Punch, right? So you're bulky enough to be able to tank a hit. And if you Terra Steel, obviously most people are gonna go for like Psychic or Fairy moves versus you, and then you Drain Punch it all back, and then your last move is whatever coverage you really need for the team. And obviously Honchkro's here too. Now this Mon. You know, Murkrow's tearing it up in the higher tiers. Now, it's not the greatest right now, right? Because it lost superpower. It doesn't have its fighting type attack. But still pretty nice priority Mon as well. Contrastalizing too, if it really wants to. Houndoom is whatever. And Didi, having Psychic Terrain up here with some Psychic Seed stuff can be pretty cool. Cloth might be able to do some things with Swords Dance. Sticky Web on Kricketune, which is nice. Crocodile. Crocodile also lost quite a bit. Doesn't have knockoff, which is pretty big as well. No pursuit. Still good good rocker in my opinion. And then we do have the Quiverdense Lilligant, which could work. Lurantis lost a lot of stuff too. All the Lycanrocs are chilling here together next to Luxray. Realistically, I think that Swords Dance Lycanroc Dusk looks insane, and like a Terra fighting on this thing to have stab on the Tough Claws boosted close combats, or a Terra Rock or with a Celerock. Like, that sounds insanely strong with the Terrasolizing plus Tough Claws. Like, just getting a fighting type attack boost, and also not being weak to grass, not being weak to water, not being weak to ground, while being a fighting type sounds crazy on Lycanroc Dust. MAGNEZONE, obviously, I think it's still good with Volt Switch as well. We have Masquerade for another Sticky Web. Metacham got quite some buffs, man. It got close combat, doesn't have to worry about high jump kick. If it still wants to miss, it can use Axe Kick, though, which is basically close combat, but has a chance to confuse, and also will do 50% of your attack. So no, don't use that. Use close combat. But Metacham, got quite a little buff in close combat. So, I mean, Dunsparce, I've seen Blunder win with this thing last night on his stream, which is pretty cool. I already talked about Spike's offense. Mudsdale, decent stealth rocker, but I don't think it's going to be like RU, probably NU. Lower Oinkologne, Oinkologne female, probably going lower and lower. Oricorio's got Quiver Dance now, and they're definitely threats as well. And the way they code with Terra is that whatever Terra type you turn into is that what Revelation Dance turns into, which is good and bad, right? It sucks because, like, I would love to have, let's look at Oricorio Pom Pom. Electric and flying coverage is very, very good, and you couple that with ground, and it's amazing, right? Because you hit the electro types that you miss out on electric and flying. So imagine I could use Quiver Dance, Terra, ground, Revelation Dance, electric, and then Hurricane, and miss Hurricane. But no, because I've Terra'd into ground, it becomes Revelation Dance ground, which isn't that bad because ground flying is incredible, right? Gliscor, Landorus. But it's good offensively too. But like, it's just missing out on that one kind of sucks in my opinion, but it has its goodness. Persimmon, obviously, U-turn stuff. It lost knockoff too, if I'm not... No, it still has knockoff. Nice. Go. All right, same Pokemon. Close combat, U-turn, knockoff, earthquake, gunk shot. Same exact Pokemon. Really cool. Really, really cool to see. And obviously, if I'm missing anything or you guys have any like specific thoughts, let me know. Good Spike and Quillfish. We do have a Revival Blessing Mon down here in Rapska, so that's nice. Electric Terrain as well in Pink Hurtson, so you can see some Electric Terrain extender type things. But yeah, Rapska being able to Revival Blessing sounds good, especially being a good Trick Room user too. And we saw some good mons like Hariyama down here that can really use that. So I'm sure this Pokemon can do something crazy down here with that. Rev Room with setup in Aurora Vale might be able to work down here with less Pokemon. All the Rotom forms are RU. Typically, Rotom Moat is RU or NU, and then Rotom Frost and Rotom Fan, and then regular Rotom. Those are the mons that stay down here. Rotom Heat usually is UU. So it's cool to see it in the RU tier. With Heavy Duty Boots and Nasty Plot, Mon looks kind of, it actually looks kind of nasty. I think about it, especially being able to terrestrialize, right? I just Terra type into a water. I literally use Nasty Plot, Thunderbolt, Overheat, and Terra Blast water, or just like, yeah, that's pretty much it. Right? I would. Why not? Like, nothing's gonna kill me if I Terra water. I'm a Rotom Wash at that point, so nothing will kill me if I Terra water. And then I have Water Stab as well, so that's probably something I do with that mon. Salazzle obviously with the toxic sub protect stuff could be cool too. Skull Villain on Sun, Manual Sun seems interesting. Slackings, whatever. Skuntank gets Toxic Spike now, which is nice. Slowbro, Fizzdeath Wall. Spidops, another mon with spikes, but also Sticky Web for the tier. So we got all the Sticky Web here. Squawkabilly. It's trying to be like a. It's trying to be so much. It's trying to be a Rufflet. It's trying to be a Swellow. It's trying to be a Landorus for all its abilities. It's trying. I mean, Gut Sets could probably work with Parting Shot as well. We have some rockers right here. Sylveon being a good wish support. Has to compete with Florges, but both are good in their own regards. Tatsugiri gives rapid spin support, can Nasty Plot and Draco and Surf. I love that both Tauros are down here. I think that it's funny because Tauros Fire is solid in both UU and OU because of just what the most common threats are. So it's funny to see that while it's good and it's won tournaments and done like that too, it's still RU just by usage because everybody is not using it. But bulk up sets, choice band sets seem good. I think on potentially both of them. Toxtricity and Toxicroak. Toxtricity is nasty. I just used it in UU recently. Obviously, you guys know that with Terrestrializing and Boom Burst plus Punk Rock, be able to become a normal type and then have Stab in that Boom Burst is insanely strong how it is on the Choice Specs. I've used Setup too. I think Choice Specs is actually better just for the initial hit, but Setup is solid. And then Toxicroak, obviously, for anti-rain stuff, anti-fairies. Both Umbreon and Sylveon are in the same tier. So you have the Dark Wish Pass and the Sylveon, the Fairy Wish Pass, which I guess is what the Light Wish Pass maybe. They did give Umbreon Thunder Wave as well, so pretty cool. Pretty cool. Like good support Pokemon right here. So I'm glad I got that. What else we got as we're going? Ursaring. Now, someone needs to let me know. Some people have said this before. I think it has a Violet boost now because obviously we know that Ursaluna is the evolution of it, but it's not in the game yet. But because I believe it's coded, does that mean that Ursaring still gets a Violet boost? If it does get a Violet boost, SD sets seem insane down here because I know obviously Bisharp gets it because King Gambit's in the game. Let me know, please, on that. And then, of course, we have Vaporeon, another one. So all three of them in the same tier. The Wish Passes are nice, and they're all solid. I'm a Wish Pass to every single one and have a Blissey on my team, too. And a Dashbone, why not? Veluza. I love this mon. I think that the Filet Away sets with the Lancelot Berry that Blunder was using are really good. I think that Citrus Berry ones are pretty good. And I think that because Power Creep down here went down a little bit, it'll be able to kill Pokemon without having to always crit them, too. But Very good mon. Venomoth, another crazy mon too with the Quiver Dance Sleep Powder sets. Obviously there's Blissey and Chansey, but it has potential to beat them 1v1 depending on good sleep turns, and it could Terra type in the Giga Drain. It doesn't have Roost right now, so it actually can't like beat them as reliably as it would have been able to before, but still good Quiver Dance user, good lead, good stuff like that. Obviously Weavile is there too. Zangoose seems kind of nasty with the terrestrializing into normal plus toxic boost plus facade. It just seems like it's a super nuke. If Toxtricity is a super nuke on the special side, Zangoose seems like a super nuke on the physical side. Not to mention it gets even stronger because it was already normal type. So you Terra type in normal. This is one of the first Pokemon I'm gonna use and just Terra normal immediately and just start clicking facade, toxic boost, boosted. And of course you have Zoroark too, which can always do some fun shenanigans. But Weavile, I don't know. I think that the RU tier looks pretty fun, right? Like you have a mix of your, and like, you know, they gave the Eel close combat, so definitely some assault vest sets can work with that too. There's a lot of good things here, like Flamigo, Farigiraf. Those are all mons like it's Farigiraf specifically can set up with like agility, combine store power sets, especially under Veil. I think Veil is going to be extremely strong. I think Hyper Offense is going to be extremely strong, and I think that if things end up getting banned, which they wouldn't right now because it's in alpha, so nothing gets banned in alpha. So for the whole month of January, you're going to be able to use the most broken stuff in that tier and just have fun with it. But I think I'm going to leave it at that. So I hope you guys all enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the tiers. Please leave them down below. I have another video later today with MV because it is MV week. Subscribe if you enjoyed the content. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.